Hello, welcome to Rolling Escapades Season 2, Episode 26, Part 1, the series in which we play D&D and put it online for your entertainment. In theory, you'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll come away feeling extremely entertained. Welcome back. Before we start, a couple of things to talk about. First of all, apologies for the time period without a new episode of Tale of the Errant Guard. We took an extra week to sort some other stuff out, so this is coming out not the first week in November like we said it would, but there we go. There were reasons. It was a good thing. Second of all, we are down a Swin and a John today. Swin because he's got an event. John because unfortunately due to timing things, he doesn't think he's going to be able to stay playing at the table going forwards. He's not here tonight because he had to work late, so we're going to do some stuff with these guys, and then next week we'll do, depending on where we get to, we'll probably do a little bit of a flashback and handle Throndrake walking away from the party and going on and doing his own thing, but that's just so people are aware. And then thirdly, we just want to inform you, the viewer, about something, because I am currently holding a juggling ball. You're going to notice the ball sort of moving around the table. This is to be used as a focus point. It's intended to give you, as the viewer, a clearer focus on where a scene is and where the focus of the story is at any particular moment. It's here as just mostly as a sort of temporary measure. It will eventually disappear, but just so you're aware, hopefully it moving around the table doesn't distract too much, or at all. Sponsor, we're still sponsored by Destai. There is a logo to my left. There is a link in the description. You can go buy awesome macrame and chainmail things, like dice bags, bracelets, key rings. There's all sorts of stuff. You can go click on the link. You will find at this point you are going to a different page to where you've been going previously because the landing page has been updated for Destai and it looks better. And then go check out the Facebook page and the DM's Guild page for Christopher Rolls, our artist who's done the awesome character art for us. Wonderful. I think that covers my side of announcement. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to add, talk about briefly? I will say, actually, because I'm thinking about it, we are at the point where the beta update, Unearthed Arcana just came out. Some people are testing out some of the rules. Just to have a look, like Shamshir is swapping out for some of the new Ranger rules, swapping out Natural Explorer and Favoured Enemy for things that are basically named the same but have one letter different, but they give different abilities because it makes the Ranger more interesting. It gives abilities that can be used. So if you see new stuff appearing that's different to the standard PHB or Xanathars, that's why we're just running those to see what they're like, decide if we like them. Cool. Any other points? Did I cover it all? We all happy?
Is this not the first session with this setup, excluding Halloween?
Well, excluding the Halloween was technically the first one, yes. So yeah, we cut down the forest and built a house.
That's what you do with forests.
Yeah. So yeah, we are welcome to the new FURN HQ. We have a slightly different layout. It should help us do things better going forward. People are a lot closer
and warmer.
And yeah, there's a lot more sort of visibility and thing, and a lot more movement for us because we're not all trapped in a forest stuck in a garage. If you haven't seen the Halloween one shot, go watch it. It's on the thing. It was quite fun. I enjoyed it. Cool. Right. So you guys, the Errant Guard. When we left off some time ago, 5 weeks ago for us at this point, you had been. Yeah.
Do we throw things at him now?
Maybe, yeah. You had been requested by the Council of Jofreim to investigate the islands surrounding the country of Vanor. You had started with the Northwest Island at the suggestion of Erlau Valorthan, the Elixithis, travelling through the pirate town of Shroudwind. In Shroudwind, you helped overthrow the current rulers, replacing the vampire in charge with a human female called Peg. Formed a pact with at the time, appearing mad sailor by the name of Jack to travel through the storms surrounding the islands in order to discover it and explore. You quickly, whilst on the boat, discovered Jack was not in fact mad, and it was entirely a ruse that he pulled off very, very well. After you dealt with the vampire, Deadeyes, with the help of Braden, your sponsor of sorts from earlier in the campaign, you gained some powerful magic items and began your journey towards the storm. You dealt both with an encounter from blood spectres and the actual sort of maelstrom of madness that surrounded the storm. For the most part, no one died. You came close, but you did eventually get through the storm. And arrived at the island to find it a dark, desolate place lacking both colour and light. You spent some time, a scouting party was sent out to investigate. You mostly discovered a small little bay that was relatively safe as far as you could tell, and a river of black water. And you discovered that when Shade stepped onto land, his physical appearance changed and he became a suddenly very old elf, and he gained radar to one particular location, for lack of a better term. However, before you could investigate that fully, you were contacted by Erlau because she had expected to hear from you by that point, because Shade's wedding was the following day, and you discovered you had lost 7 days travelling through a storm rather than the one you thought you had spent in there. You were teleported back to Jofreim via a spell of Erlau's creation that is currently unfinished and thoroughly unpleasant. But were able to arrive in time for Shade to enjoy a stag do organised by Derek and his wedding. During Shade's wedding, you did witness a presence sort of interacting with the wedding, believed to be the Raven Queen, or a avatar thereof, who spoke directly to the bride and groom, giving them some information about stuff to come. And then you went and enjoyed the wedding reception, and you had a week of downtime before, whilst waiting for Shade to come back from his honeymoon before you head back to the island. And that's a recap.
That is a recap.
That is indeed a recap. So, downtime activities we have done for the most part off camera. They have been resolved, but because it's done off camera, we're going to quickly discuss with everyone for you guys what happened and things, and there will be a couple of people who have had little private things, so we're just going to step away, or people will step away so we can have the private conversations. So we're going to start with Eldoran.
So,
Because yours was a nice easy one, because you...
I spent a week working for the temple.
Yes.
Being pious paladin I am.
Yep.
Yeah. Kicking it around Jofreim, helping out people, doing the thing.
Yep. Specifically, you actually did from Xanathus did the religious service downtime, and you have earned 1 religious favour.
And no cults that I know of.
Yeah, you didn't discover a cult. And you also wrote up...
Apparently that was a real risk, and I was like, oh good.
Oh yeah, no, that's a legitimate risk. You can discover a cult.
He tells me this afterwards.
Huh? Oh yeah. Well, we're having a conversation, so... you also wrote up a report for the council, which you sent to me. Let me just find said report, because it was just a very brief write-up of what happened. So you reported to the council that you were able to obtained passage from Shroudwind to the northeast island. You discovered an evil in Shroudwind and a group working to remove it, and you formed an agreement between the group removing it and yourselves to rid the town of evil. Upon completion of the task, the benefactors were good to their word and sailed you out to the islands through a magical maelstrom that none could explain at great personal peril, and there they await our return. The island at the centre of the storm is a dull place. There is little light or life. The trees are blackened and dead, and the water runs black like tar. So far, we've only explored a small area near where the ship is anchored before we had to return thanks to Erlisle's spell. For personal matters, this was a shock to us, for by our reckoning it was some 7 days till we were meant to return home. We cannot account for the lost time, but we assume it is due to the storm that we crossed. That was the interim report, just so people are aware. You guys weren't given that report. Eldoran just wrote that on his own and handed it over, just to keep the council informed.
Just spec ops things.
Yes.
You could have chucked in a few more. I feel like I should have.
You
You could have chucked in a few more kind of. We heroically did this. We bravely.
I'm trying to get us not pulled off the op. We're technically out of bounds of our mission.
We've gone rogue already.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
You went and did. You went
That's
and
why I
did.
put it in.
You went and did an additional thing. You just happened to walk into. Right. We're going to drop to the other side of the table to Erebus, whose downtime was nice and easy because you enjoyed the honeymoon.
Well, yeah, I did. Just relaxing and loving and caring for each other because there's not really much place to go around.
No, it's not
It's
safe.
just Jofreim and Jofreim.
Yeah, it's not safe to travel long distances,
Yeah.
especially if you're travelling with a pregnant lady.
Yes.
Things on, and there's only two of you. It's not going to go well, so you just hung out in Jofreim as well.
Yeah. So not much happened.
Yeah. You did receive some training
Yes, I did.
from Raynor, and have gained new powers because of it.
Yes.
But he was nice enough to leave that until the end of the honeymoon, rather than the very first day rocking up and being like, "Sup, you're coming with me now."
Yeah.
Which is normally what he does, to be fair.
New
One,
skill will come into play soon, hopefully.
yes, it will.
Very good.
Right, we'll drop to Aegis.
I did some personal research into certain poisons.
Indeed.
So I did quite well. I found some very important information, 2 pieces of it in fact.
Yep.
And I also hired someone to do some research for me on the black water
Yep.
from the island that I took a water skin back with us.
Yep.
Because I did try to ask Erlisle to do it, but was informed that she was busy.
Yes, she was otherwise occupied
With a willing test subject, I believe I was told.
with a willing test subject for her new spell multiple times during the day.
You must feel like
I did
spaghetti.
give him some information on that, so.
Yes. So
Yes.
you at a later point we'll re-inform viewers of what the information you discovered were, because it's a private thing. But I'm not jumping everyone away from the table just now.
Okay.
As in for the poisons stuff that you investigated. The water. Someone spent a week looking into it. They were fascinated by it. But as far as they can determine, it is safe drinking water.
You knew that, I drank it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's as far as
I was unsure if there would be long-term effects if you kept drinking it, so I thought I'd check.
Well, they were able to it's fundamentally the same as normal water. They're not entirely sure why it's black. They did, however, note that during the time they had it, during that week, it got steadily clearer. So the blackness in the water sort of over time diminished. There were elements in there beyond normal hydrogen and oxygen and whatnot that they couldn't identify. There is other stuff in the water, but they're not entirely sure what it is. but it has had no ill effect on any of the animals or plants they have tested it on
Okay.
a lot.
I also went over some of my previous notes, and should I go on this bit now or?
I think this is a good time to you can have a conversation with the party, because at some point during the downtime you will be found by Aegis because he wanted to have a discussion with the party.
I have reread through my book on. Thank you. I have reread through my book on the plains, and the island seems like it is likely a part of the Shadowfell, which is very dangerous for us.
What do I know of the Shadowfell?
You can go ahead and you can make your choice of history, arcana, or religion check.
Can we all do that if we want to?
You can all do that if you want to. You can make the check with advantage.
Do I need to?
You know what information you have. You spent time looking into it.
Arcana, you say?
Your choice of history, arcana, or religion.
Well, that's
Does
the
it
highest
matter
one.
which one we use?
Yes, because it will give you different information depending on what you pick.
Arcana.
That's
17.
annoying.
Of course, arcana 17 on the Shadowfell.
History or religion?
I know what I'm
They're both the same number.
doing. 16 on history.
Wonderful.
15 on religion.
There we go.
Thank you.
Dotting it around. Right. So, arcana, the Shadowfell is another plane of existence. Essentially, it is a mirror plane of the prime material plane, but one that is shrouded in shadow, hence the name. It lies closer to the negative plane than the prime material plane, and is where it's where the boundaries between reality and the negative plane are thinnest. It is a dark, desolate, unpleasant place.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. You had history.
Yeah.
History. Wonderful. Similar sort of thing. It's another plane of existence. What was your roll? 16? Yes. Cool. You are aware that when the world was created, the Shadowfell did not initially exist. Another god, after the prime material plane was existed, created the Shadowfell as a channel for negative energy. And then, that now is a thing that exists.
It's out of character, but if anybody else remembers Brendan using the words, "It wasn't me that did that, somebody else did," kind of might be a bit more important now.
Yeah,
And you did religion,
I did.
and you got a
15.
15. Cool. Specifically, when I find my note on the thing.
The thing and the thing and the what?
So the god that initially created the Shadowfell, binding it to the negative energy, was Clitarix.
Sorry, how much?
Clitarix.
Again?
Clitarix. Which, and I'll see what and I'll see. You also are aware that Clitarix died. Or sorry, now know why Mercer says always read your names out before you say them.
Did you honestly? No, fine.
No, because it's because you're dope when it's on paper.
Yeah. Just to be clear, like the first 3 times I legit went, I have no idea what the first letter of that name was.
It's a K.
I got that on the 4th attempt, and then went.
Yes, so during the War of the Gods and the First Rupture, Clitarix was killed and his domain taken by Vecna.
Oh, good!
As in his domain of divinity. It doesn't necessarily mean it is... in fact, you know that the Shadowfell does not fall under Vecna's command. Belongs to another deity. 15. You'll know. No, yeah, you'll know. Specifically, it falls under the sway of the Raven Queen.
Aha.
Okay.
I knew that as a
So that's what people know.
Boom.
The book describes that if we enter what is otherwise known as the plane of despair, it's likely that we can become corrupted. Our souls will start to gain darkness, will gain phobias, and our appearances might begin to mutate.
Well, we know of someone who that affects.
Eventually, your will could break and the corruption would overtake you. Or it could kill you, turn you into a gibbering mess. Many things happen. The worst happens is if you've survived that. Because if you survive, you tend to focus on a single emotion, which will lead you to becoming a sorrow sworn.
Anything more on that?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I'm going to different pages. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the creatures section completely because it's rather important.
Yeah, read. I would read the Sorrow Sworn section verbatim. Yes.
Yes. Many things live within the Shadowfell, and most of them are cruel. The undead make their home here, feeding off the negative energy that is present. Any creature that enjoys the shadows and darkness can be found here, and it is a place they are well suited to. I shall speak of a couple of those creatures here, though I intend to publish a book that covers the Shadowfell far more in depth at a later point. First, the ones I have already mentioned, the Sorrowsworn. These are creatures that embody negative emotions, anger, hunger, loneliness, being lost, and minor variations thereof. All souls that fall to the corruption but don't die become an embodiment of one of these emotions. However, not all Sorrowsworn are corrupted creatures. Some are born from the very energies of the Shadowfell. The key to fighting the Sorrowsworn is to identify which emotion they represent and to fight against that emotion. This is not always obvious. I'll provide you with an example. The lonely feel the desire to be in the company of other creatures. Should one find you, it will pierce you with its harpoon arms and drag you closer to it. As more creatures get closer, the lonely becomes more powerful. It is not obvious to identify how to fight one, since the closer you get to it, the stronger it gets. Fortunately, my dear reader, I have done this for you. Will list how to handle each of the Sorrowsworn. The lonely I have already done. The angry grows stronger when creatures fight back. This is somewhat annoying on the basis that you need to defend yourself, but be aware of this. The hungry gains strength as you gain strength. Should your life force be restored... Should your life force is restored... Okay.
Should your life force be restored,
yeah.
I should say. Yep.
It bites harder. The lost seeks solace in the arms of another. Whilst it hugs another creature, the one being hugged suffers damage whenever the lost does. Finally, the wretched. These small dog-like creatures hunt in packs, so isolate them. In a group, they're deadly. On their own, they offer no great threat to anyone. The second group of creatures I will discuss is the undead. This will be very loose, my dear friend, and will mostly be a warning that the Shadowfell is full of undead. Be prepared for the mindless hordes of zombies and skeletons, but also be aware of more powerful undead like wights and vampires. The undead will be what you encounter most in the Shadowfell, and are the creatures mostly drawn to any light. Be ready to fight them until they are destroyed. Also be prepared for things to rebuild themselves. The Shadowfell is full of necrotic energies that serve to animate and reanimate the bodies of the fallen. That is all I will say on the undead. Other researchers have published books on the undead, and it's currently beyond my place of interest. Just be aware and be prepared. The last creature I will discuss to prepare you for is the Shadow Dragon. I will atone, dear reader, that you have a basic understanding of what a dragon is. Let me just tell you, any story you've heard regarding a dragon is probably true. A shadow dragon is a corrupted dragon. They are a dragon in which the necrotic energies of the Shadowfell have corrupted and taken over. They cease to have a physical form, becoming living shadow themselves within a darkness and shadows. They become harder to slay, their forms causing damage to bounce off, and even their energies they exhale twist into a shadowy form. Fortunately, they can be reasoned with, but do not assume a metallic shadow dragon will be good. The corruption affects all creatures. That was all the creatures bit. I can give you a bit on the travel section so that you can find what it says. The Shadowfell is one of the easier planes to travel to. Obviously, you can make use of either the plane shift or the gate spell for any plane. However, dear reader, the Shadowfell can be crossed to via shadow crossings too. Shadow crossings are patches of darkness, places where the veil between the prime material plane and the Shadowfell are weak. These shadow crossings form in places where the intense negativity of the Shadowfell appears in the prime material plane. An open grave, a shadow in a crypt, a forgotten battlefield. They are not always obvious, but they never exist within the light. The Shadowfell hates light, and so the crossings disappear. That is something to remember should you wish to travel through the Shadowfell, my dear reader. It hates light. You can see whilst there due to some otherworldly glow, but any light source causes anger to rise within the plane. The creatures that exist there are likely to attack any creature around any source of light, and will continue to do so after the light is gone. However, light is often anathema to them, so use it wisely and sparingly. Light at the right time might save you. Light at the wrong time will kill you. I lost many an assistant due to incorrectly using light. Whilst travelling through the Shadowfell, I highly recommend creating a map or collecting a map from a native. Not everything residing there will be immediately hostile. A map will help you keep your bearings. You do not want to be lost or to lose your soul to corruption. You will find things to eat and drink, though they may not always be blah blah blah. Sorry, I'll repeat that.
The what?
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I will repeat that. You will
That's
find things to eat and drink, though they may not always be pleasant. Decay is commonplace, but things never rot entirely. If you plan to travel, be sure to stock up on provisions, dear reader, or have access to the Create Food and Water spell. As I mentioned before, use might sparingly if you travel with individuals who require light to see. Bring scrolls of dark vision or items to help them see. Most of the time, light is an issue, but you want to be as prepared as possible.
Sounds like a delightful place we're returning to. Even more so now.
Yes, I had the water investigated, and while it did seem safe to drink, there was unidentified elements in them that didn't seem to affect things immediately. But judging from the book, it may be that over time it would have a cumulative effect. So you may want to carry a larger amount in the bag of holding if possible.
A few barrels of fresh water?
Yes, that's the thought.
How long have we left Captain Jack inside the storm now for?
Probably about an hour for him, if the time difference is correct. Or it's been a week. How long did we ask him to wait? Until his supplies would begin to run low and he has to return.
He said he was going to wait there until we had a week's worth of supplies. He started with a month's worth of supplies.
That was when we left, was it not?
Yeah.
So it took us a week to get
You-
there?
No,
Or
You took 2 days to get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you've had a week in Jofreim, so he's
He should only be halfway
he's like
through.
8 days away from turning around and leaving.
Should we try to bring some extra supplies back with us as well? So that we can extend the duration that he'll wait?
It's not a bad idea.
It's not, but if he's left there too long, maybe we'd lose the crew.
Yes, the Shadowfell corrupts, so it's possible we may be returning to a ship of the damned.
Yeah, and I'd rather not damn souls that we've just
Well,
saved.
It's a wraith ship. Was it a wraith ship or the sails?
Wraith sails.
Yeah, Banshee sails.
What if we took some sort of token so the lady of the tower might pull us back again through her spaghetti magic? For lack of a better
Yes.
term.
It may not be the worst idea to ask if she has a token that we could use if we desperately need to return, but then we'd still need to contact her.
I'm sure someone of that caliber would have a sending stone or something similar to lend us.
That's a possibility.
I can certainly inquire.
Thank you. But yes, so we now know more information about where we're going. We might want to prepare for it, so it's possible with the undead. We might want to see if we can gather some holy water or other items that may be very effective against them.
I will take a spin past the temple.
Civilian paladin there.
Perhaps we could ask or hire a cleric to come with us to remain on the ship and make sure the ship is sanctified and safe and keep it free from the corruption.
That would probably be very useful, and it would likely encourage the sailors to be willing to stay there a bit longer if they've got someone who can protect them from the
Evil.
yes.
There is also Jack's willing to wait for you guys because he's pretty sure if he sails through the storm without you, half his crew are going to die.
That makes yeah. Okay, yeah.
Because he only got through because you guys could take the hits, but his crew cannot. Which is also why he's quite willing just to hang around for the full period
fair.
of time.
Yeah, so that's my suggestion, is to gather items and possibly. I half expect we would want to gather some extra torches to help with the people who can't see in the dark. There's 2 of them, but at the same time, light would be a very bad thing to have.
I think some torches is a good shout, but too many may be marking our own grave.
Quite.
Upon hearing all of this, how much would it cost to acquire some goggles?
Lots more than you have.
Goggles of night vision. A fair amount.
I'm expecting it's probably more than I have, but it's still worth checking.
Let me see. Just quickly find.
So we must find supplies, water, a cleric, and some holy water.
I would recommend holy water as one of them, or possibly holy incense that can. I would say burn if we want to make a fire, but we don't want light, so.
I will see what I can do on those last 3, but if someone else could.
I would also suggest, since it says things rot very quickly, possibly the longest lived rations we can find, so that even they don't begin to go to, at best, dried meats or long lived oats and such.
Nuts and.
Yes. Yes, that's pretty much what I've got to say.
Even going as far as cooking certain food could be a risk.
Yeah,
considering
that's why I was
what
saying
it's
dry
like.
foods that we can just eat.
Well, insofar as rations go, I can be quite prepared with good berry.
No, I don't have that.
In that, this wonderful book you found that told you all about the Shadowfell, did it mention anything about that the crystal things that we saw? Anything about that?
Nothing that was mentioned in it.
Maybe they're a feature unique to the island.
As I did say, it was meant to be the first book. There was a general overview of all the planes, and that the person was going to bring out a further one on the Shadowfell. I didn't really have time to go looking for it. So I was going to request, if anyone has spare time, if they could go into the bookshops to see if a book has been written or published.
Goggles of night will cost 1,500 gold.
So,
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
I will remind you that you could see on the island. There was a dark glow you could see. Whether that means you can always see, you don't know.
This will lead nicely into my downtime because I also studied the vial of water, which I took back for the entire week, and I can attest that my findings were exactly the same as what you discovered. There was no difference in what we saw. It doesn't have any adverse effects on plants when tested. It's not made from the same base. It's the same base elements, but there's definitely something different. It became more clear as time went on. I just can't. There's something about it that I can't identify.
Congratulations. Because of your lack of communication, you completely wasted your entire week. Well
Did I
done.
hire him?
Hmm?
Did I hire him?
If
No.
so, can I be paid?
No, you hired someone from the Purple Helix. You hired one of the Purple Helix
I'm
researchers.
pretty sure I said this is why I took a vial before I went.
I took a lot.
But
more
at least we
than a
know that the results match up.
he didn't
Yeah.
paralyse himself this time, so it's a great success.
We've got
Apologies.
I do have one thing to say as well. You know that kind of tick or sense of direction on the island.
Mm.
Now that we seem to know that it's linked to the Raven Queen, what she said during the wedding, something about return to me and follow your thread. Almost as if it's something to do with that, which is why I know where to go.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Well, it gives us a lead on where to begin, at the very least.
Also makes some sense that it means it's not going to be an absolutely hostile direction that we're going towards. He said absolutely.
Yeah. No.
Don't know. We'll see.
I think all directions on that island are liable to be hostile. If it is, as Aegis suspects, the Shadowfell, sorry, we will find few allies there, and every direction will be fraught with danger and peril.
Yeah.
So, when we return, we must be vigilant, but yes, for ourselves and others.
Thank you. With the fact that I have read the book and it is only partway through the week, I will offer it to anyone else who wishes to go through it, so they've also got a record of where we're going, just in more detail.
Yep, I'll have that.
I'll probably read it at some point too.
So I will drop you guys the link to the Google document. And then I will also keep you informed of when I actually update the document with more information, because currently it just contains one section.
Yeah, no, yep. It's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read most of what was on there.
Cool. So your decision there is to look for supplies, which we can do at the end of all the downtime. You guys can spend a few hours getting some additional supplies so you don't die in the Shadowfell.
Yep.
Actually, wait, if this is midway through it, he wouldn't have been there for this.
You can whatever. You can have a quick catch up at some point. You can you can pull Shade away when Erebus away.
It's not like he's far.
Yeah.
I assume we're in the pub, and we are around a table in the pub, and we just drive him to the pub.
I mean, to be fair, if you go tell his wife, like, oh, we need to tell him this information so he doesn't die, she's probably going to be like, go.
Good fuck. Get your ass out this house.
Okay.
Did you have a thing to raise? I thought someone had a thing to raise.
I was just going to ask when during the week this conversation took place, but we just covered that.
Wonderful. Cool. So we will go to Shamshir, who had a very simple, easy week.
Well, yeah, describing it as simple and easy. We've all benefited from a level up, and as we're playtesting in a way, the UA, it seems apt that maybe this week was used to benefit from some of the changes that I get for hitting 6th level, which is to learn 2 additional languages, one of which is Dwarvish, which ties quite nicely in with the fact that I learn it whilst extensively travelling, so I probably picked some up from Throndrake and some from Par, and took it a step further by researching my downtime Giant, which is sort of loosely based off Dwarfish, and then I've also become proficient in Survival, so that's what I've been practicing in my downtime and why I'm suddenly proficient at it, and books at level 6.
Yeah.
Small.
Small thing, but yes. We'll very quickly cover Par, who basically spent a week hanging out with Delray. They made moonshine, and he got a quote on how much a timepiece would cost, which is 1,500 gold pieces.
He wants to buy a clock.
No, he specifically wants like a pocket watch. A pocket watch is 1,500 gold pieces. It's the same price as a pair of goggles at night.
Which is more useful.
Those.
One of them is just clockwork, but that is extremely expensive. And Throndrake spent his week travelling to another city, but that's to be discussed. So, Derek.
Hello.
I'm going to try and throw this without hitting a druid. And without hitting... Well,
Well, no, you have to throw it out my face so I can catch it.
Yeah.
So I spent some time with Lyle, my mentor, and she needed to work on her spell. So I spent a day being teleported around the continent by the spaghetti spell, as it is now known, and I think I only threw it once, which is quite good.
Yeah.
Because she's working the kinks out a little bit.
Working
I
your
think
kinks.
it got less colourful. Was that right, or did it get
No,
more?
it got
more colourful. That's the one, yeah. but it got less nauseating, but it got more psychedelic.
Yeah.
Did she create a porky from Harry Potter? Just
Who
pulling
knows?
it from somewhere else.
Who knows?
No, I'm pretty sure she does like spell casting. I just can't learn it because I'm an idiot.
Also, you've not actually seen it because you've always been away from her when she does it.
because
it only
you
pulls.
get dragged to it.
Yeah.
But she did. I was able to use this to my advantage. I went back to Grassbury, and I was able to continue my courtship of Rose.
I knew it. I knew it.
which was helpful to me. And I did some other things with my downtime, but I don't want to tell you about any of that.
Sneaky bastard.
Next time we do this, there's a tree with some sort of trinket for us, isn't there?
Yeah. You guys solved a problem with the last time when you
Some
left
of those
Jofreim.
The cursed
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
The curse road. Yeah. You saved a treant who said if you come and remove the corruption, either yourself or by sending someone to do it, I'll give you something. Yeah.
We just need to collect.
I only had one day. I had very limited time. I was mostly getting people around the place. I only had time for one thing, and this was. I have goals. I have dreams. Derek has things he wants to do.
Aspirations.
Yeah, that's the word. And then there's so I spent some time back in Jofreim doing a thing, and then I spent time doing. And then I just spent time doing. I forgot what did I. Oh yeah, and then I spent time in Jofreim doing another thing.
Yep.
Which was yeah. That's my downtime.
He did some other stuff.
Hello there, Mr. CIA.
So what we're gonna do so that we can reveal to the viewer
what I did,
what Derek did. Let's have the rest of you just have a nice little quiet trek upstairs. You'll be back momentarily. Or actually, what we'll probably do is I'll call Aegis down for his little private bit for the viewers after the resolution here.
What do we do on WhatsApp?
Yep, I've already got it up.
Alright.
I went and found it.
I'm not good at this.
That's fine. Well, whilst everyone was doing their things, I went and found the messages about all the things. So I had it as easy access. Just to make life easy. Wonderful. So, specifically the other two things you did
Yes.
for funsies.
So the boring part of it, and I think the part that you guys probably all expected in terms of viewers, I did some research because Derek's going to Derek, and I went and researched the Raven Queen.
Yep.
And that led me to also do some bit of research on the Shadowfell.
Yep.
Because that kind of thing
It ties together.
Yeah. Also, if you've seen Derek's session 0, you know that Derek found out that Alile was looking into the Shadowfell because she thought that's where the Shadow Guard were associated with in some way. There was that weird note.
She was looking at the Feywild.
Feywild, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget that then.
That's fine.
That's me getting. confused.
To be fair, it isn't an element of me using way too many of the names that are similar.
Well, I thought Shadow Guard, never mind. The other thing I did, which I think is going to be new information for all the viewers, is Derek resumed one of his other identities.
Yep.
And under the name Chadro, he rejoined the Thieves Guild and took part in a heist in order to acquire more money because Bachelor Pie was good, but it was expensive,
Yep.
and I needed some cash.
Yep.
and that didn't go entirely to plan. It was a slightly botched mission.
Yeah. Oh, you made 65 gold.
Yeah, after expenses.
Yeah, after expensive. Because you had to reimburse the Thieves Guild because they had already done the planning. And you just rocked up like, I want to do the job.
Yeah.
Like, well, we expect some of this back.
Yeah.
You borrowed some money with the Purple Helix.
Oh, is it borrowed? All right, cool.
I think it was borrowed, or well, you asked for money.
I asked for money and got given
And
money.
I just went sure.
Yeah.
She doesn't really care.
No. It's way below her pay grade. It's pocket change for her.
Yeah.
It's stuffed down the back of the sofa for her. She doesn't care.
Yeah. She just pulled funds out the business organisation. Was like, yeah, have some money.
Yeah.
What number did you ask for? It means not whatever.
Yeah.
Have some.
Exactly.
Very funny. That was it. She gave you 200 gold, so you got 265 gold for not very much.
Yeah. For not doing a lot. And that was it, I think.
Yep. The interesting thing, as you spoke about your session 0, is you never had any additional training from Immoral, which would be, I think, is the first time you've been back.
And he, I did contact him, letting him know I was back, but he was just like, nothing doing this time.
Yeah.
So that's possibly a bad thing because it means he's busy, which is never a good thing because I don't like it.
It is also the first time that you've been out for an extended period and come back and he's not organised a meeting.
Yeah.
Because that's been a regular thing.
He would want to touch base, which is odd. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, wonderful.
He's not terrifying.
Specifically, I think we will recount the information you discovered. Because unfortunately you didn't discover very much because your dice hated you for that day.
Yeah.
So you discovered that the Raven Queen used to be a mortal queen.
Yes.
And she
ascended.
Yeah, she ascended. She felt that her and her people had been abandoned by their god, so she desired to ascend to godhood herself. In which she both succeeded and failed because she became a god, but not in the manner she wanted to be. Something went wrong.
Yeah.
And she lost herself in the process.
Yeah, because it sounds like she started off with good intentions and good aspirations, but you don't end up in the Shadowfell if you're a good. Yeah, that's it's not a nice place.
Yeah, and you do know because it's just general knowledge that the Raven Queen is the goddess of death, the mistress of fate, the patron of winter. So she is associated with things that are seen in a negative light at all times.
Decay and negative energy. Yeah.
Yeah. She lost her body. Her mortal body was destroyed during the process when she then became the Raven Queen, which is a different entity. And you also did discover that she lives within the Shadowfell, inside the Fortress of Memories, with her servants, the Ravens and the Shadowkai.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And you got some information on the Shadowfell, but the information you've had has been recounted by Aegis.
Yeah.
who ages ago bought a book.
Yeah, clearly. He got a book on quite a good book. I'm glad I get to read that.
I'm enjoying making the book. It's actually quite fun.
The first thing I want to look at is the name of the author. Because if it says Breeden, I'm gonna fracking flipping.
Thodris Falak. It is Fundamentals of the Planes by Thodris Falak.
Thodris Falak. Okay. What is it with you and these names? It's all
It was a random fantasy name.
Shall I go and get?
Yeah, let's bring Aegis down.
Eva, you mean? I thought you said mentioned Shamshir.
Oh no, Aegis. Shamshir has done his stuff because Aegis did some additional research that he doesn't want people to be aware of.
Okay, I'll send
Yeah.
Jordan now.
Wonderful. And that just leaves you with me, dear viewers. Which, it's all fun and games. Immoral was doing some fun stuff. There's going to be some fun reveals at some point, and between the two of us, they are in the Shadowfell. When they go back to the island, they're going to love it, or hate it. Is probably more likely. There's a reason why I provided Aegis with the information on the Shadowfell. He is coming down. Here we go. We have an Aegis at the table. Right, yeah, so we're just going to quickly cover the secret stuff that you don't want to tell people about.
Yep.
Because not only did you pay someone to look into the water for you, you specifically did research on poison.
Yep.
As you have been wont to do for most of your downtime so far. Because you are...
I finally got there.
Yeah. You are trying to find information on what it is that caused your mother to be injured in the way that she is. So you took the research downtime. Nothing went wrong, luckily for you.
Can I know what could have gone wrong?
Oh, all sorts of things. You can annoy people. You can accidentally destroy a book. You can get yourself banned from a library. It's all the complications that are listed in the downtime.
Excellent.
You can see the risk beforehand. So, what was it you found? So specifically, the 2 point information you discovered because of the way you rolled an 18 total. You discovered that poisons that are resistant to healing magic, things for healing resistant to things like restoration spells and whatnot, which is what is in your mother, are poisons that are created with the help of magical influence. The poison is imbued with magic to make it stronger and to remove the possibility of magic curing it. Such a poison would require an antidote to remove. And you discovered that poisons like that, magically imbued poisons, are not created easily. It is something that would take decades of research and understanding and no small amount of magical power to create.
Okay, cool. That's what I learned. I did think of something through a bit later. I was like, why didn't I just do that? It made life so much easier. And that was to ask the Shadow Guard because they.
That might have helped you a little bit if you'd
And I'm
asked
pretty
this
sure I
one.
would have at least found out how to treat magical poisons or
Potentially.
had a fair chance at it if
Possibly.
I got Jade to help me.
Yeah, I mean, most of your week was doing the research.
Yes.
Yeah, you were working with.
I went to a sage, didn't I, rather than
Yes. You rather than reading in books because you've been doing that and you have not got any further. You went and found a one of the purple helix. Yeah, one of the spellcasters in the purple helix who likes to research just things, and with their help and their understanding. And bribing them a lot to talk to you, hence the monetary cost. They eventually you were able to discover these bits of information.
Yes, which is useful. Okay then.
I think that's covered. Everyone. So I'll just quickly drop. Do you have anything else?
No, I was gonna say maybe a break.
Yep. I think that's probably a good time to do that. Yeah. So. There we go, that's the downtime sort of coverage things for you guys. As said, there is a little bit more to do. We will have the leaving of Throndrake next week when we have a John, hopefully. We'll see what happens. So yeah, we're going to call it for there. Thank you very much for watching this part. And we will be back picking up the story in part 2 shortly. Thank you very much and goodbye.